All right, let's talk about Bangladesh. It's a country at a massive crossroads right now, basically juggling three huge transformations all at once, one in its economy, one in its technology, and one in its politics. So let's dive in and break down this really complex journey. So that's the big question, right? With so much happening, can Bangladesh actually pull off this high-stakes balancing act? We're going to unpack each of these three paths to really get a handle on the opportunities and the risks that are just around the corner. Okay, so first up, path one, the economic engine. And, on the surface, things are looking pretty strong. But as you'll see, there are some pretty serious strains hiding just beneath that positive exterior. Let's start with some good news. This number, 5.4%, that's the current inflation rate. And let me tell you, that is a huge drop from the painful high of 9.5% back in 2022. This isn't just a number on a chart. This means real relief for people's wallets and for businesses trying to make ends meet. And check this out, another massive number. This is the estimated cash sent home by Bangladeshis working all over the world in 2023. These remittances are basically the lifeblood for so many local economies, boosting what families can spend and, crucially, helping to keep the national currency stable. Of course, you can't talk about the Bangladeshi economy without talking about exports. We're looking at a $48 billion powerhouse. And get this, the garment industry alone makes up a staggering $40 billion of that. This whole export machine is absolutely critical as the country gets ready to graduate from its least developed country status. That's a big deal. It means new trade rules and a whole new level of global competition. All right, so we've seen a lot of good signs, but it all begs the question, how solid is this recovery, really? To figure that out, we have to look a little deeper at some of the structural challenges that are still lurking. And this is where things get a bit tricky. Foreign currency reserves are sitting at $34 billion, which, for a country that relies so much on imports, is a bit of a worry. Then you've got the banking sector. It's carrying a pretty heavy weight, with 12% of its loans being non-performing. That's basically bad debt. And on top of that, the country's infrastructure gets a rating of just 4.5 out of 10. So yeah, these are some serious hurdles that could really slow down long-term growth if they're not tackled head-on. All right, let's shift gears to our second path, the AI revolution. Artificial intelligence is showing up as this incredible, transformative force, but it's one of those things that cuts both ways. It's got huge potential, but also some pretty big risks. So AI isn't some far-off fantasy. It's already making its way into major industries. It's projected that 35% of banks will be using AI solutions this year, making things like trade financing way faster. And in telecom, AI is expected to slash costs by about 20%, doing things like predicting network problems before they even happen. That's a real tangible impact. And this isn't just a big corporate game either. The startup scene is on fire. In 2023 alone, over 150 new AI-focused startups popped up. And what's really cool is that a lot of them are building solutions specifically for Bangla speakers, which is huge for making this technology more inclusive and accessible for everyone. But okay, with all this tech moving so fast, you have to think about the people involved. There's a major skills gap. Is the workforce actually ready for this massive shift? Then you have the whole can of worms with ethics and how you govern AI. Because if you're not careful, there's a serious risk that this technology could end up making social inequality worse, not better. And that brings us to our third and final path, the political landscape. Now, what happens here is tied to everything else we've talked about. It directly impacts economic confidence and the country's future. We're just going to lay out the situation as it stands. So right now, the country is being led by an interim government, with Nobel laureate Dr. Yunus at the helm. Their stated goal is to get a national dialogue going and to push through some really essential reforms. So how are people feeling about this? Well, recent surveys give us a pretty good snapshot of public sentiment. This number, 65%, is the approval rating for that interim administration. That suggests a pretty solid chunk of the public is on board with the direction they're taking. But at the same time, you've got the opposition making its voice heard. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or BNP, has been really clear about what it wants. They are pushing for what they call credible elections to be held by the middle of 2024. This is happening alongside their calls for reforms to tackle big issues like inflation and unemployment. All right, so let's pull all three of these paths, the economy, the tech, the politics, back together. It is crystal clear that Bangladesh is performing an incredibly complex and delicate balancing act. And wow, the stakes could not be higher. On one hand, you have these amazing opportunities, right? AI and digital transformation could just turbocharge productivity, and a stable environment could attract a wave of foreign investment. But on the other hand, the risks are just as big. Political instability could scare all that investment away, and if AI isn't rolled out thoughtfully, you could end up creating these deep social divides. And that brings us back to the ultimate question. As Bangladesh walks these three paths at the exact same time, with every piece in motion, will they all converge to build a future of prosperity? Or will the sheer strain of juggling everything lead to a period of instability? The next few months are going to be absolutely critical in determining the answer.